So here we got a pearl white fender that is crushed in front of the door, and you can see that it is actually behind the door here. And 95% of the body shops would put this down for replacement, especially with this dent up here at the front also. And I'm not saying that if you were just a body shop, that is probably the correct way to do it, because getting it back to where the structure actually fits is kind of a pain. But with paintless dent repair, after a lot of trial and error, you start learning how to do this here. So we are heating up this paint and making sure, because it is a cold day. I recorded this back about 6 months ago, or more like 9 months ago, and I'm just now getting to where I'm using this footage. So I start off just using some paint sticks. They make some stuff that you can buy to actually do this with, but the paint sticks are thin and they go in there good, and I just used paint sticks for years to line up fenders, and that's kind of the way I've been sticking to it, because it does work and it doesn't scratch the finish. So here I'm prying this out just a little bit at a time. You see that I'm now knocking down the crown. That way it'll release some of the pressure and help it to stay out. So it takes quite a bit of figuring out where you need to push and pry at the right time. But this process I've done a lot of times, and it does work good. And just so the fender isn't cracked on the edge, it will stay and it will not go back in. But if it is ever, the metal is cracked on the edge, if it pushed it in a little bit too far, then you probably would be better off, because if it weakens the structure, you don't want to attempt to do it this way. But this was a perfect candidate, and you can see I used a little bit of cold glue there to help pull up the larger part of the dent. And then after I get that done, I move the paint sticks around, put a little bit more pressure on it, and now we're going to blend down this crown quite a bit, because the fender is getting pretty close to being out to the edge of the door. But this dent, if I remember correctly, was created by a deer, and I believe that it's about the deer season around here, hunting season, and they're going to be out running like wild again, and we're going to have some more hits like this to fix before too long. And these dents like this created that are kind of softer, they actually repair pretty good. If you have like another car hits it and scratches the paint, then it makes it not work. So you pretty much, the only time a dent this large works out good is if it's something softer hits it, and if it's got a big sharp gouge, it's not going to work. But you can see here I'm having to heat it up a little bit for the cold glue to stick, because it is kind of cool, but haven't had that problem all summer. If anything, it's been a little bit too hot, and then the cold glue will actually start sticking to the vehicle and come off the tab. But this here is something, the technique of cold glue, learning the kind of cold glue you need and the time to use it. It is a learning experience, but after you learn it, I'm telling you, it gives you a raise over pushing it. And it brings it up cleaner, faster. So if you do the cold glue, you're definitely going to enjoy learning how to do cold glue for sure. So here I'm getting ready to use the Kiko paddle, and this actually helps to where you can knock down a bigger area and hit it a little bit harder, and knock down a bigger area to move more metal without putting little divots in it. Kiko makes a lot of really good products for larger dent repair, and I recommend checking their site out, because I have been buying more and more of their products over the years, and I'm fixing to buy another set for my body shop soon. That way I have a set that I just leave there. So here I'm fixing to use a stand liner. This fits right in between the wheel well. Really easy, and man, that little bend there, you can walk out a little line right here. I am definitely a stand liner tool fan. They have made me so much money and saved me so much time. I can't wait for the Mobile Tech Expo and buy a bunch more of these tools. I've got quite a few already, but I want to get some more. You can see I'm getting right down here in this line against the edge of this crease of this door, and it will definitely walk this out and make it come out a lot cleaner than if you were to use like a whale tail or something like that. And I'm going to show you here right down this edge at a little bit different angle so you can see there's a little bit of imperfections. But here in a little bit I'm going to take a tap stick and do a little bit of blending on this and get it smoothed out some more. Here is the next part that I'm going to go to, but I'm going to show you that is how I got down through there and that edge right down to this very corner of this fender. It works unbelievable. And in this, I left the fender liner in it because that way you could actually push off the fender liner just a little bit to hold it against the very edge of the door. And here is I'm tapping down the little imperfections. This here helps to relieve any little bit of actual stress that is trying to hold the dent in the wrong direction. And it flattens out the little bitty imperfections that I put in by pushing on it, which was minimal due to the cold glue and the stand liner tools. And here, once again, this is a very, very deep dent, but I heated this fender up a little bit, and I'm using this cold glue, and it's right on the edge. But this stuff, I'm telling you, when you get the perfect temperature for this gray cold glue that I bought from Metal Medic, it is called sticky gum. If it's the right temperature, it pulls unbelievable. There are some people that I talk to and have commented that they like certain other glues. Well, I've got about 7 different brands that I use at different times. I got Glexo. I also have Sergio, VIP, and I can't remember a couple of the other brands that I have, but the Sergio Blue I use a lot for hail damage, and I use Glexo and the larger tabs for the larger dents, and then I also use the sticky gum for the larger dents. The sticky gum does okay for hail, but I do believe that the Sergio works a little bit better for it. And now I got to clean off some of the residue here and get it cleaned off the fender so I can see it and see where I need to pull again. But then we do a little bit more stand liner, a little bit of tap down, come up through the headlight, through the fender liner. We got one more dent to repair on this door on this vehicle. You can see it's a very sharp one. And then I'm fixing to show you how good this fender came out, but I have to do just a little bit of blending on the fender still, but I believe this thing is coming out very, very nice. You can see the crack right here. It is very close, but I'm going to do a little blending first just to hold a little more pressure into this. But you can see my old hammer here and a tap stick that I use. But look at this little dent come out really quick. Just putting this in time lapse so you can just kind of see. Got it up, got it looking good. Now, here's the finishing up of this fender, and then I'm fixing to show you here in just a second the actual detail of how close this crushed in fender came to being almost perfect up and down this door. So you can see that little guy on that door is gone, but look right here. See that there, looking pretty good. You got this fender up here at the front, came out pretty decent for the actual how bad it was crushed in right around the bumper cover. But look here. See right up through here. Very good fitment and very strong, and happy with the way it came out. Going to do just a little bit of sanding and buffing on this, just a little bit, to get some little bitty imperfections out. But it is looking pretty good. Saved the customer a lot of money, kept from replacing the fender, didn't have to paint the hood, the fender door, and probably the wheel opening molding also, but to ensure match. And I'm going to show you here in just a second. Steve here, he has a very nice Camaro that they're working on over here, and he's doing a little bit of buffing on it. And in his dad's 67 or 8 truck, I can't remember what year, but he's making him a nice hot rod there. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next time.